So let's switch gears here, man, because I've been thinking about, since I knew you were going to come on. One of the things that was most popular that we did, I had Eddie Claypool on, and we got into the topic of how he almost died a couple times out there in the wild. And I know you've had some crazy, crazy experiences. What's the craziest where you're like, well, this is it for old Miranda?
Well, when we drove into the firefight in Africa was pretty tough. I mean, obviously that's first and foremost in my mind because a lot of it wasn't my fault. It was kind of out of our control. I was hunting lion in the Nyassa Reserve and I got a kidney stone. I tried to pass it. I couldn't get it passed. And so I needed to go to the hospital. It was a 3-day drive to the hospital. I had global rescue, but when I called the global rescue, they said that kidney stone wasn't life-threatening and that they wouldn't come and get me, that I had to go to a hospital. Well, we had driven a whole day and stayed the night, and it was very, very painful. If you've ever had a kidney stone, or anybody that has had one that would know, but it's just really ridiculous. And I'd had several, so I knew what it was about, and I have a high pain threshold, so that wasn't a big deal. But on the second day, as we're driving, closer to the hospital, which we had made a decision to go back to South Africa rather than go to a hospital in Mozambique. We end up stopping in this town because the military has the road blocked off. And apparently there had been some local people that had been ambushing trucks with machine guns along the road. And they would take all the stuff out of the trucks, kill the driver, take all the trade goods out, and then they burn the vehicles. And so then several people had been killed along the stretch. And so the Mozambique military was there, and they were setting up convoys. And so we were in this convoy. We were seventh in line, and we were driving south toward the Save River. If you looked on a map, you'd see where it was in central Mozambique. Long story short, we drove into the gauntlet. All of a sudden, out of the trees, bullets came flying. An RPG missile bounced in the road in front of us and blew up on the side of the road. And we were like all stopped, and there's like machine guns firing. I took a bullet through my door into the transmission. I'm sitting on the passenger side, which is the left side, which is the side we drive on. The driver's on the right side in Africa. I took a bullet through the door in the transmission, one through the back into the seat. So both bullets that was in my compartment missed me. I'm screaming at the PH to drive, go around. One of the soldiers that we had on the back of our truck, because they put 4 soldiers on the back of our truck, was killed. He was hit by the bullets. People in the bus that was behind us were killed. Anyways, it was just a tragedy, just a huge, huge tragedy. Very scary situation. Got out of there without a scratch, really. Ended up getting to the hospital, getting my kidney stone removed. And then I actually chartered a plane and flew back to the Nyassa Reserve to shoot my lion. And I was on a 30-day safari, and this kidney stone came like 3 days in. So, I mean, I lost almost 2 weeks trying to get there and get operated on and recovered, and the shooting and everything. So, and then I come to find out later that my life insurance wouldn't have been any good. If I would have got killed, my life insurance wouldn't have been good because they would have considered it an act of terrorism. So anybody out there that travels a lot, look into your life insurance policies to make sure that you're covered under an act of terrorism, because it's kind of like having flood insurance, but you're not covered for the wind and the tornado blows your house over. Kind of like that. So that one was pretty bad. I've had many, but that was the one that really stands out in my mind.
So that makes me sort of want to climb into a tree stand and not go to Africa. Now you're starting to sell me on getting back in a tree, Tom. So that whole experience was wild. I remember talking to you after that happened, and man, that's crazy. What about animals? What's the closest you ever had to some critter whacking you?
A funny story too. I pride myself in getting all my kills on video. Well, I make a show called Matthew's Dominant Bucks, and it's basically about solo cam filming. Well, a few years back, I had one of the guys that was one of the pros on there constantly calling me and saying, because I'd call him and I'd say, come on, you can do a better job of self-filming than that. We need this, we need that. You got to shoot this stuff. And he basically laid the gauntlet down to me saying, you got a cameraman. You don't have to do this on your own. You see how hard it is. And so I started filming a lot of my own hunts. Well, I end up, I'm on my 4th brown bear hunt, and I'm in Alaska, and I'm in on the peninsula of Alaska, and I'm trying to self-film my own hunt. So what I did was I taught my guide how to use a video camera. So, because we were mostly stalking, to get the kill. If my guide could hold the camera and get the kill, then I could film everything else and make the show kind of solo cam way. And if I could shoot it off the sticks, I would, but a lot of the stalking and you're trying to get ready and all that. So long story short, it's a tough season down along the ocean. We aren't seeing a lot of bears, and so we're glassing the mountains. Sure enough, we spot a bear. It's the spring hunt, so it's the rut. So we see a boar and a sow way up on the mountaintop near the snowpack, feeding, and way up there. And we're wearing chest waders because down below it's swampy and the creeks are deep and all that. And we're thinking that the bears are going to be in the foothills, not way up on the mountains. But it had been warm, and it was an early spring, and there was more green grass higher, which these bears eat green grass. Long story short, I told the guide, I said, let's go. We're going to go up there. Let's try to get him. He goes, that's like a 2.5 hour walk. I go, in chest waders. And I'm like, we need to go. We go all the way up there. We had it marked. They were by this big boulder, and we hike. And when you get up, anytime you're in that kind of country, it looks like through the binos, it looks open and you can see them easy. Yeah. When you get up there, it's tag alders and just thick. You can't hardly walk. It's just so thick. So we got up there, and I could see the rock, but the bears weren't there. We were probably 100 yards from where we knew that they were, but we couldn't see them anymore. And I could tell that the brush line kind of moved up a little bit, so there's a hill close to us. And I told the guide, I said, come on, let's go over to this hill. We'll slip over to this hill, and then we should be able to be a little higher. Maybe we can see down in this. Well, as we get over to this hill, we're making a little bit of noise going through the sticks and everything. And, of course, the wind is going to change and da-da-da-da. Long story short, we hear this woof and sticks breaking. And, of course, I got my bow and he's got the camera. And so I'm getting ready, and I see the sticks breaking, and here's the sow at like 35 yards just stopped looking at us. And she goes, woof, just like a bounce at us, like a mock, like she's going to charge. Mm-hmm. And then she made the weirdest noise, kind of a 3 wolf. I can't even make the noise, but it was like she made a different sound, and she turned and ran. And when she made that sound, here comes the boar, and you could just see sticks breaking, and here he comes. And I was like, oh man. And so I get around to get ready, and this boar comes running into like 12 yards, stops in the bushes, and stands up on his hind legs. And I go to full draw, and I shoot him right in the chest, right here. And the arrow only goes in about this far. And you can tell by the look on his face that he's just really upset. And when an arrow hits him, he just like he's going to come for us. And when he drops on all fours, the arrow hits the ground, and it pushes the rest of the way in him. And as soon as he hits the ground, you hear him go, ooh, and he just spins around and runs off. We trailed him 200 yards. The problem was the guide was so worked up, I wouldn't let him bring a rifle. He threw his camera on the ground and took his pistol out. He never used it, but I never got the video footage of it. And so it was just one of those most exciting things. It's kind of like me telling you that I saw a Bigfoot and a UFO at the same time. But you just have to believe me on it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So that's one of the few times that I've shot an animal not on video. But I didn't know if he was rolling or not, and it was really exciting, and I had to shoot.
Yeah. Well, yeah. What are you going to do there? So let's talk small stuff. What's the craziest thing, like insect or snake or anything you've dealt with? You ever been stung by anything in a far-flung place that you're kind of like, I don't know if this one's going to get me or not?
I've stepped on cobras. I've seen lots of poisonous snakes. Never been bit by one. But just a month ago, I was in Africa hunting, and I got bit by a violin spider on my ankle. A violin spider is like a brown recluse for here, but it's an African version. Yep. And it was in my room. The spider was in my room. It wasn't like I was out in some wild place and the thing crawled out from under a rock. And in Africa, you wear shorts. It's warm there. So normally, and I wear these seed gaiters. They're basically, you pull them on, and then when you get your socks and boots on, you pull them down, and that basically keeps any seeds from getting down in your boots or anything like that. You'll see a lot of African PHs wearing these gaiters over just the lower part of their leg over their boots. Yep. I think that spider was hiding in there. But anyways, I got a huge, huge hole in my leg from that thing. And I 3 nights I was just having just dreams and sweating the bed, and it was tough. And I mean, it took me, I still have a scar from it, 6 weeks later. And it was just on a little teeny spider. So
Well, those spiders kill people.
oh yeah.
Yeah. So I went to Africa in 2007 or 8. I can't remember, when I was at Peterson's bow hunting, and I don't like spiders. Like snakes don't bother me, but almost nothing bothers me, but I cannot handle spiders. I don't like them. And so they put me in this, you're water hole hunting over there with South Africa. And they put me in this mesh blind. Like, they run temporary blinds before they build a big one to make sure the setup's right, And so I get into this blind, and it's in the dark, and you got the one little shooting port, and it starts getting light, and I look up above me, and there's just spiders. The whole top of it is all spiders and webs, but they look like, the African version of daddy long legs. So I'm like, if I don't stand up, maybe we can keep the peace. They'll stay there. I'll stay here. But you know how it is. Like, you're thinking like, this sucks. I don't want to be in here. And at one point, the spider crawls up the front of the blind, starts making a web across the shooting port. And I'm like, well, now I got to deal with this dude. Because, like, if I'm going to shoot, I'm going to have to handle him. And I'll never forget, I pulled an arrow out of my quiver, and I swung at him, and I missed him, and he reared up and stuck his fangs out. And I ended up swinging again and hitting him and killing him. Look back, there was another one on my pack. I killed him, and those were violin spiders. And I looked them up, and I'm like, holy shit, these things kill people all the time. Just, scary. I mean, it's crazy, and it's funny. I'm sure you hear this a lot, especially with the travel you do, where people are like, oh my God, how many crazy things did you run into? And most of the time you don't run into anything. I mean, it's pretty rare to run into anything like really dangerous. And then you pull up your gator and a freaking deadly spider bites your ankle, like, you just don't know.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, but that's part of the adventure, I mean, you really don't want that to happen to you, but I mean, I don't know anybody that goes to Africa that doesn't want to actually see a snake at a distance just to say they saw one. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Or see an elephant or some of the other animals that can stomp you down,
Yep.
So it's a little more safer here in North America, but yet anything can happen. You can get killed just driving to the blind, you know what I mean? Driving to your stand. So you have to be, you have to always be on alert. And the weather, especially. I mean, a lot of people, I tend to keep since a lot of things have happened to me, I tend to keep a little survival kit in my bag. And I'm always wearing a backpack. A lot of people will email me or PM me on Facebook or something and say, why do you carry that big backpack around all the time? Well, normally I got camera batteries in it. I got all this other stuff that I need, for the cameraman or for myself to use, extra cameras, GoPros, whatever. But also you got to be ready for anything, because you just never know what's going to happen. And a lot of times bow hunting, you can just be cut by a broadhead. I mean, anything can happen.
Well, yeah. I mean, I do the same thing. I mostly, even whitetail hunting, have a elk, like a backcountry backpack, a big Mystery Ranch Metcalf or something, because, you have some of the camera gear, but I've started trying to be safer about the safety gear, and like, because you don't know. I mean, you're out there piecing apart an animal and you stick a knife in your leg or something, like, the world changes. And Ranella just did a really good podcast on that with an ER doctor, talking about, like, how to use a tourniquet correctly and understanding, like, what kind of medication should you have with you for this and this and this and this. And it's super, super informative. But his main point, this doctor, I think, was from Michigan or Illinois, I can't remember, a big whitetail state. And he's like, it's tree stands. It's, either accidental gunshot wounds, or in our case, freaking tree stands. He's like, people get injured. That's what's going to get you, And you think, like, oh man, you went lion hunting. It's lucky you survived. It's like, it's more dangerous climbing into the tree stand that your uncle built 17 years ago,
Absolutely.
So it's wild. So, man, what's next in Tom Miranda's life? Because I know, you're an interesting cat. You're really you live down in Florida. You're really into spearfishing. You're a book collector. You got cool stuff going on. And I know at one point you had some desire to making some documentaries and branching out beyond what, the hunting industry. So what's, if you have secret plans, you don't have to tell us, but what's next, man?
Well, I mean, I'm trying to finish. I know it sounds, I don't know, egotistical. It's really not. But I mean, when you've come this far, you know what I mean? It's kind of like running a marathon. and you got 1 mile left. I mean, are you going to just quit or are you going to finish the mile? You know what I mean? It's like it just common sense says 1 more mile after 25, is going to give you'll finish your first marathon. And I'm kind of in that position in my bow hunting career. I've shot the North American 29 and the Super Slam, which gave me the Grand Slam. I've also got the World Hunting Award, which is 160 species. There's only one more award at SCI that I can get. It's called the Conservation and Hunting Award. And that's all the slams and all the inner circles, which is a huge, huge accomplishment. Only 4 bow hunters have ever done it. And
how close are you?
I need 8 animals, 8 species. That's like 190 species. So it's a lot of hunting, a lot of different animals. And then the Grand Slam Club, who I'm a spokesperson for the Super Slam, they have what's called the Ovis World Slam and the Capra World Slam. The Capra is the goats, the Ovis is the sheep. I have 10 of the 12 sheep for an Ovis over a Capra World Slam, and I have 6 of the 12. Wait a minute. I have 10 of the 12 goats for the Capra and 6 of the 12 sheep for the Ovis. And only 3 bow hunters have the triple slam, which is the Grand Slam, the Ovis World Slam, and the Capra World Slam. So I need 8 animals for the GSCO, for the Grand Slam Club to finish that. And if I do that, if I can complete those 2 milestones, I'll be awarded what's called the Pantheon Award, which only Archie Nesbitt has. He's the most decorated. Archie Nesbitt's the most decorated bow hunter in North America, in the world, actually.
Yep.
And I've done 99.9% of all my hunts on video. And I had the kills on TV, had the hunts on TV. So that's right now, that's what I'm working on. I mean, a lot of the sheep that I need, that's going to be what's going to finish it for me. It's Marco Polo, Hugh Margali. It's the tur. I've been on 3 Dagestan tur hunts, and I don't have one yet. So these are all very difficult, expensive mountain hunts. I'll finish the Capra next year for sure. So once I get that done, I mean, I don't know what I want to do.